Kia ora, good evening. Invercargill has faced a spate of armed robberies in the past 3 days, but police have acted quickly in the apprehension of 3 alleged offenders. On Friday afternoon, the Otatara 4 Square was held up at gunpoint. A manhunt continued for the armed offender before his arrest on Saturday. Today, 27-year-old Mark Richard Jones appeared in the Invercargill District Court charged with aggravated robbery while armed with an air rifle and possession of cannabis. He's been remanded in custody without plea to reappear next Tuesday. Meanwhile, Invercargill police have arrested 2 men following the knife point robbery of the Crinan Street Dairy last night. 2 men entered the store, each presented a knife and demanded cash from the shop assistant. As a result of police inquiries, both men, aged in their 20s, were arrested and appeared in the Invercargill District Court today on related charges. Fireworks are on sale for just 2 more days, but it could be the last time fireworks are sold in New Zealand. On November 5th, which is Guy Fawkes Day, government will consider calls to ban fireworks sales to public. A petition that's drawn more than 26,000 signatures, backed by New Zealand Fire Service, the police and SPCA, is to be formally reviewed on Wednesday. In the meantime, those purchasing fireworks for domestic use are being urged to use common sense, including only using fireworks when the weather permits.
You have to be prepared to cancel an event. If you made a fireworks event and the weather gets out of hand, you've actually got to be prepared to cancel and make an alternative night. That's one of our biggest problems. If you have hot embers, the winds fan those hot embers, so that leads us to a bit more trouble as well.
What about following instructions before lighting the fireworks?
We do have people trying to read the instructions with a lighter. Obviously not the case. We recommend you use a torch because you are in dark situations. Clearly use a torch, read the instructions properly, make sure how it functions and stand it in the proper container for use.
And as far as being in the right mindset, no drugs or alcohol to be used when you're lighting fireworks?
Yes, as we all know, they don't mix very well, so have a good time by all means, but keep it to a low level. A common sense approach, obviously, is what we're after, and one dedicated adult, as you say, trying to keep family members about 15 metres away from fireworks so they don't tip over and head towards them, and that the fireworks are landing in clear areas. Hopefully, again, common sense and a bucket to be laid out. Preferably, I prefer a hose because there's a more continual water supply if a hedge accidentally goes up. Obviously, call 111 in that case.
What happens if a firework doesn't go off first time?
We just discard it, don't relight it, put it in a safe place. And obviously, after you finish the night's entertainment, clean the area and put those fireworks in a metal container so they're all safe.
Sparklers for five-year-olds plus?
Here again, I'd like to see an adult in charge of those and just only give them a couple at a time. Watch their faces, of course, eyes. We don't want damage from them, but they are quite fun for the young children. Just watch them.
Potential burns for people that are lighting fireworks, and even with sparklers, grabbing the wire after it's been burnt. Suggestions for people with that?
Well, you know, we had a bucket of water for fire purposes, but again, it can be for burns purposes. All the readings on burns is that it should be immersed for approximately 20 minutes so you don't get too much damage from it. So here again, you can use that as a safety function and if anyone's unlucky. But common sense prevails. Just please don't let them get burnt. Don't put them in that situation.
Southerners are being urged to swat up on the Southern District Health Board's Strategic Health Plan, currently in its draft. The consultation process is open on the document that will effectively set the direction of public health service delivery across Otago and Southland. The guiding document sets strategic directives and is vitally important to the future of the SDHB. A series of meetings are being held in the South over the coming weeks as part of the consultation process.
So the question that the whole consultation is posing is, how do we make the whole system work better? How do we get a coherent system of care across the whole district involving all the various players so that we don't have a disconnected patchwork, but things move smoothly from a patient's perspective around the system, and we can have no duplication and no gaps in the service. That's what we're driving towards. It's the big picture, if you like. There's been a lot of interest from groups like Rotary and Grey Power, as well as doctors and nurses, people that you would expect to participate in this kind of thing, and some very insightful questions. So yes, I think people, particularly if they've looked at the document documents, at least briefly before they come, do have a bit of an idea of what we're talking about and are willing to make contributions and suggestions. This is a whole of district picture, and it's a future direction document, so that it doesn't give a lot of details, but it does point the way forward, and that's why it's so important that people get involved and come along to understand what we're suggesting. So we have a big meeting in Invercargill on Wednesday evening at the Civic Theatre. There'll also be one in Tianau next Monday evening at the Distinction Hotel, at Wanaka Presbyterian Church at lunchtime on Wednesday, and in Queenstown we're having a drop-in centre at the Memorial Hall between 5:30 and 7:30.
Stay with us. Still to come, it's cycling action after the break with the Around the Mountain Cycle Trail and the Tour of Southland. Welcome back. Invercargill members of the Labour Party had their chance to meet all 4 candidates vying for the party's leadership on Friday night. Stephen Parker, Andrew Little, Grant Robertson and Nanaya Mahutu were each addressed party faithful and then answered questions. Labour Party members' votes count for 40% of the final vote, with the caucus itself making up 40%. Unions affiliated with the party have 20% say in the outcome. Preferential voting is employed. Each member must order potential leaders with the most favoured first and the least favoured last. The new Labour leader will be announced on the 18th of November. 26-man teams set off from Invercargill today to ride the multi-stage Tour of Southland cycle race. The tour is now in its 58th year and has grown from a modest 3-day event to a tour that's raced over 6 days and has a reputation as being a tough and challenging ride. The Invercargill Velodrome marked the official race start this morning, with teams covering almost 900 kilometres by race end. Time trials around Queen's Park yesterday saw Wellingtonian Joe Cooper take the yellow leader's jersey for the first road stage today. And tyres were in a spin in northern Southland on Saturday as the official opening of Southland's latest tourist attraction took place. Stage 1 of the Around the Mountain Cycle Trail officially opened on Saturday in Lumsden. Deputy Prime Minister Bill English took to his bike before cutting the ribbon at the train station of Lumsden and declaring Stage 1 open.
Wherever you go, people are talking about it, and of course the challenge here is to make sure we get people to find out that it's here and get them to start turning up, especially for it.
Well, there's a lot being said about injecting new life into these smaller communities. There's a lot in that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and it's an excellent opportunity to do that. You know, if I think of the money the government spent on it, I can't think of anything else we could have done which would have such a potential direct benefit to communities that have had their ups and downs. So it's great to see it, and great to see the enthusiasm from the communities, and now we've just got to get the tourists here.
The former Clutha Southland MP joked about extending the existing trail to Dipton and says the trail offers better safety for cyclists.
It's just great to be able to ride safely out on this beautiful countryside, because actually on the roads with the traffic going fast, it's been a bit dangerous that people don't do it, but now they will.
The trail, which currently stretches 80 kilometres from Kingston to Mossburn, takes in scenic Athol and Garston along the journey.
The cycle trail's a fantastic initiative, and it's add to the fabric of the smaller communities around here. I know that Lumsden, Mossburn, Athol will benefit significantly from it.
The trail's classified as Grade 1, meaning it's suitable for any bike and can be used by novice cyclists. It includes 5 suspension bridges worth $1 million alone and is finished with an extremely smooth and fast riding surface.
I mean, what's going to make this work is the whole trip, and it's going to be a bit of an adventure trip. People, one of the longer trails and one of the more interesting. So getting Stage 2 done pretty soon, within the next year or two, is going to be quite important. It's great to hear the council so committed to that.
It's taken 5 years and around $4 million to get the Quick Start government project to this stage. Prime Minister John Key first touted the idea of a cycling network throughout New Zealand.
Yeah, it started out that way, and what it's turned into now is a series of branded trails. So they're part of the network, and over time, we'll see them joining up, I suppose. But it certainly worked to get strong local support around, a loop track or an out and back or whatever. That's working well.
The Southland District Council still requires resource consent for the second stage from Mossburn to Walter Peak. Mayor Gary Tong has already ridden small portions of the trail and intends to become a more serious off-road cyclist.
So I've actually ordered a bike rack, so there will be a bike rack on the back of my vehicle, hopefully next week when it arrives, and I'll be out there.
And Bill English was mentioning this is great for little communities, isn't it? These road trails, rail trails or whatever are injecting life and much needed finance into smaller communities.
Absolutely, that was the intentions of the Prime Minister when he thought of this idea back in 2009 to invigorate the small communities. And as you can see here, it's been said a few times, most people in one place in Lumsden in years, so it's great to see it.
Details of Stage 2 of the Around the Mountains cycle trail are being finalised with a view to work starting later this year. It's hoped to have the complete trail ready before December 2015. Margot Sutherland, South Today News. Team Vegan supporters were out and about in the city on Saturday bringing awareness to the animal-friendly diet. As part of World Vegan Day, Invercargill Vegan Society members unveiled a plaque at Queen's Park that features a hen as part of this year's celebrations before hitting the streets with giveaways. Street activism was sweetened by coconut ice cream and vegan pizza voucher giveaways in Invercargill, along with a treasure hunt and evening potluck with vegan food to share. Keeping in Step was the name of the game at Stadium Southland over the weekend as hundreds of marchers and teams moved in unison. The 21st South Island South Leisure Marching event attracted more than 30 teams and had 5 minutes each to showcase their marching routines. Around 300 women from around the South Island joined for formation, marching processions and displays at the community and friendship-based event. The marching get-together is non-competitive and is more about socialising and exercise for mature-aged citizens. Weather is along next, followed by sport from the news team. Good night.